What's up, guys? I just wanted to showcase my full minion build in Diablo 4. We'll be doing the walkthrough of it in the Sanguine Chapel. I chose this dungeon because I think boss is pretty good to showcase the build, and you know, the clearing speed doesn't really matter with dungeon you go with. It's probably gonna be relatively similar, so boss wise, the boss is like a little annoying because it moves a bit, so I think it will showcase it a bit better, but yeah, I mean, other than that, the whole build focuses on minions, trying to maximize the damage and the number of minions. That's all I wanted to do. And as you can see, I'm only using 2 skills on my bar, and realistically only 1 skill. The Bone Prison you can definitely use on like elites and stuff. That's fine. But other than that, I need to remember to not run away from elites, because yeah, the minions go with you, or they stick with you, so it's kind of hard to just run through enemies and leave them behind. And before you say that I could use the Blood Mist with Corpse Explosion combo for clearing, and yes, I agree, I could use that, but the reason why I'm not using it is because I think it will be nerfed in the live version of the game, and so I don't think this combo will be available to us. I might be wrong here, and if it's still available, then absolutely you will just, you know, put that spell onto one of the free slots you have, and yeah, absolutely you will be able to just clear super fast, and then your boss damage will be insane. You will be able to survive long as well, so for sure. This build definitely is nice against situations like this when you have waves spawning. You can just stand in place and buff your minions. Doesn't really matter too much. I like buffing them, but again, it doesn't really matter much. You will still clear waves with ease, so all I have to do is just stand in one place. Now, the reason why I chose those 2 skills is because the Bone Prison works pretty well actually for bosses, especially the ones that like move. You can lock them down, and like sure, they can break out of the shield, but usually you only need like few seconds for them to just stay there, you know, and that's all. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it in terms of the Bone Prison. I try not to use it too much in the dungeon itself, because it actually blocks you and blocks your minions from walking like through it. And so like in tight corridors like this, like the only reason why you would use it is like this, right? After you pass through the enemy and then cast it, so you lock it in. Also, one of my items gives me, or legendary aspects gives me light skill when I do that, so I also do like bonus damage to it because of it. We'll dive deeper into the itemization at the end after I showcased. But yeah, I mean, this build is pretty good. The only thing that I'm lacking here is some kind of shadow penetration. Some enemies I feel like are more resistant to shadow, and because of that we do less damage to them. See, like AI kind of just doesn't know what to do, and I'm pretty sure the same happens with bosses. They just don't know what to do, and they stay there until it either breaks or they auto attack or try to auto attack you, and then it will break. But all you need is those few seconds on the boss or elite, and you know, you can kill it. Another thing that I don't specifically like about Bone Prison is the fact that since your minions cannot go through the Bone Prison, your melee minions don't do anything against unless you lock them inside, right? Which is it might happen, it might not happen. I still think the bonus damage you get from it because of the pool is still probably worth it. Oh, got the legendary. What do we get? Increase crit chance. I don't think I had that before, and this is the first time I dropped it. Actually, I wonder. Our loot goblin actually gets locked in. That's kind of lucky too. To showcase, I guess. And I guess easier loot goblins too with this build. Not that they probably are much of a problem to people, but still. So again, I wish there was just some more things I could put for clearing speed, because as you can see, it's not that fast. Oh my god, we also got Butcher. Now that is fucking amazing. Yeah, we completely like wrecked it. Not even close. And as I saw, the Butcher got like super confused too with the Bone Prison. Didn't know what to do. Again, like, I think this Bone Prison is really good against bosses, elites, because it messes with the AI, it abuses a lot of things. So is this better? No, this is worse actually. So okay, we can now go at the boss, and I'll show you. All you need to do at the boss is cast your Bone Prison and spam your W until you run out of essence, and you can throw in Q to buff your minion damage. Corpse should be created by your scythe minions, and since I have one of the aspects that give me damage while I'm standing, preferably just stand in one place. So let's go. So all you do is just spam, stand in one place, you can buff your minions, and it just dies, right? So again, like, in terms of boss kills, this build definitely will work very well. I'm curious to see how it performs against like all of the bosses, especially like endgame wise, because some bosses might be able to maybe teleport or dash out of the Bone Prison, and then it's not as good. But as long as the boss cannot just, you know, ignore your Bone Prison, then as you see, like, it's just good. Even when it doesn't really have much life, right? 126 life is nothing. So it, you know, you can even make it tankier too if you really wanted to. But I don't know, like, to me just casting is enough. So alright, let's go over the gear now. So from the important legendary aspects I'm using is this one, and this one I advise you to have on your weapon. This will increase damage of your minions. Ideally you want the 60% version, but I didn't get the max roll one yet, so I'm on 52 for now. The minions have to stay alive for 10 seconds after you summon them, and then after 10 seconds they just get 60% maximum more damage, which, yeah, that's really good for our build since we're focusing on minion damage. So this one will be imprinted on dual wielding weapon, not single, because dual wielding gets the 100% bonus on your imprint or your legendary aspect, meaning it doubles the bonus. Normally this bonus would be only from 20 to 30% more damage for your skeletons, but because we have it on two-handed weapon, we have 40 to 60 instead. So it has to be on a two-handed weapon and as close as you can get to max roll. From other important things, this is not as important, but it's nice to have. So when you cast Blight, the pool will, or the Blight will pull the enemies from the area. You've probably seen it a few times with my Blight when I casted it. When it hits the enemy, it will pull all the other enemies around it into one place, which is nice. It groups them up. Again, it's not as important, but it's just nice. And it definitely works well with Bone Prison, because Bone Prison also spawns the pool because of this one. So this imprint is pretty important, a legendary aspect. So Bone Prison will spawn a pool of Blight that deals 100% bonus damage over 6 seconds. This one actually max rolled, which is nice. And this one is definitely nice if you're fighting elites, for example, because then all the trash minions and the elite itself, it will like pull to the middle of the Bone Prison, which is nice. But it's also very nice on bosses because, again, it spawns the Blight pool, and it says that it does 100% bonus damage. So in my mind, how I read it is it casts the Blight, but the Blight that it casts does twice damage. So it doesn't do 1200, it instead does, 2400 damage. That's how I read it. Maybe that's wrong, but it says bonus damage. So I'm assuming it's just 100% increase, meaning double damage. Even if not, again, like additional pool of Blight is very useful in terms of damage. So now from other important things, this one, the necklace. So necklace increases the legendary aspect by 50%, not 100% like double-handed weapon. And this one will round up. Actually, normally you only get 2 skeletal mages with the aspect, but because it rounds up, we get 3 on the necklace. You can also put warrior one instead here, but I like mages more. They do more damage, they do shadow damage, which we kind of focus on in terms of bonuses. So definitely try to get mages here instead of the warriors. From other things, we have also the warriors, 2 extra warriors. Doesn't matter which piece you put it on, because the only piece you can put it on that has a bonus is the necklace, and necklace takes mages. So for warriors, it doesn't matter which piece you put it on, they're just there. Okay. The helmet one doesn't matter. It Iron Maiden stuff. It's kind of harder to find good like defensive stuff. So the helmet one you can completely ignore. It doesn't matter in our build. You can replace it with any like other utility or defensive legendary aspect. So this one is nice. I would advise to take it, honestly. It only is good against bosses where you can actually stand, which I don't know how often that will be the case. Like here, I could stand in one place, but against some other endgame bosses, you might not be able. So this is potentially replaceable. For now, it works, but again, we'll see at endgame how viable this will be. So again, like this might be replaced later on. This one is relatively important in our build, and you can actually get it from one of the dungeons, so it's not even RNG. You can imprint it with ease. So this just gives us a barrier when we damage elite. So basically, if it's an elite, and I'm pretty sure it works against bosses as well, so you just get the nice barrier. And that combined with this one, which you increase, you have increased damage when you have the barrier active. Again, like they just combo well together because you get more barrier, so you can survive better, and you also get the damage while the barrier is up. So definitely get them together, and that's pretty much it for the gear. From other options you could put on your gear is I think you could probably put maybe the let's see, where is it? This one. To make the Bone Storm shadow damage, and it will actually do a little more damage as well, 72 more shadow damage to be exact. It's pretty shit in terms of the bonuses, not gonna lie. The Blood Wave one is definitely better because it actually does decent damage with the trail, but mostly you would take this because it turns your Bone Storm into darkness damage, and the same with Blood Wave. So, but other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it for the gear. Now, skill wise, starting from the very beginning, it doesn't really matter what you take because we're not using any of those skills. So you just need to put 2 points so you can get to the next tree. Doesn't matter what you pick here. So pick whatever you like. Ideally, at the end, maybe it will be worth to grab the Decompose here, and here, because this one makes you and your minions deal 10% more damage, but you have to channel that for the buff to be activated, right? So you have to like keep channeling on the boss. This would only be usable if you run out of essence. So as you go back to our build, you cast your Bone Prison, you cast all of your Blight, you're out of resources, and now you don't have anything else to do. This is the moment you would decompose. So in the beta right now, not really possible to do. So but against like bosses, world bosses and stuff that doesn't die immediately, definitely this is the best one you can get because it will increase your minion damage. The rest are pretty whatever. Like this one might be okay because you have a chance to make enemies vulnerable, but it does physical damage, so it doesn't even get the increase from your other talents. So again, up to you, but the best one would be going here. Not as important in the beta. So now for the second tree, the only thing we're grabbing here is Blight. We're grabbing Blight. We grab this obviously, and then you have a chance or a choice between this and this. You grab this because it will increase yours and your minions damage by 15% to enemies that are within Blight. And as you know, we can cast Blight, but also our Bone Prison casts Blight. So we get this bonus pretty much guaranteed all the time against bosses, against elites. So very nice passive here. So this one is pretty much whatever. Okay, on to the next tree. In here, you just want to grab 1 point into Bone Prison, so you can grab those two. This one doesn't really matter too much. You gain essence for trapping enemies. Again, we don't really use it too much against like normal minions, so or normal enemies. It doesn't really matter too much for us with the essence. Though you will be putting your Blight every now and then while you're clearing enemies, so this will give you a little more essence. It's okay. But we grab those points only for this one, like mainly for this one. So when you lock enemy inside of the Bone Prison, they are just vulnerable until they get out of the prison, or the prison stops existing, right? So if the AI gets confused, that means for 6 seconds they're just vulnerable, and for pretty much all the bosses in beta, that is enough to just kill them straight up. So again, very good. And we also grab 3 points here for the Warrior Mastery. This one is not as important because, as I said before, the warrior minions don't do shadow damage, so I don't think they do that much damage in comparison to your mages. But they're there to create corpses, and they're there to be more of like a meat shield, and just, you know, a little bit of extra damage. I grab it anyway because, I mean, it's 45%. I'm assuming this probably is better than anything else you can grab in the tree. So, plus it makes them tankier, so they can actually survive, and you don't have to resummon them all the time. Later down the line, again, like, you will have way more points. I think you stop gaining them at like what, 50, but then you also have some passive from doing the what is it called? Well, on the world map you get affinity or whatever to the region, right? And you get the passive skill, so you probably can end up with around like 60 points or so. So you won't really have any other things to put the points into those three, so you will probably want to grab this regardless. So okay, on to the next tree here. The only thing you grab is just skeletal mage mastery. This one is important because this is your main damage dealer, so this makes them tankier and makes them do more damage, so of course. Next skill tree. Now here is where it gets a little cool, because you grab the Reaper's Pursuit, you max it out. This will give you 15% more movement speed for 3 seconds when you damage with darkness skills, and because we have the Blight and we have the Bone Prison with Blight, we will constantly do damage that's shadow, and so you will have this buff very often. The only problem is, again, we don't clear as fast, so it doesn't really matter too much that we can run faster, because we cannot clear it as fast. So that's my only issue with this build. Again, if they keep the body or corpse explosion with blood mist combo, that will be able to combo well off each other, and then this becomes very, very good. Then we also grab 2 points in here, so we can get into the next tree. Ideally, you will want to late game max this one out. You could probably even max this one out. I don't think you can stun bosses, but hey, why not? Again, you'll probably have a lot of extra skills, skill points regardless, so, and then you definitely will want to grab this one. This one will just do more damage to enemies that are slowed, and then even more damage to enemies that are stunned or immobilized, which, if you can stun bosses, cool. This will improve damage even more, both of those combined. So the next tree is probably the most important one for you. Unfortunately, we cannot really grab many points in here, only 3 points as of beta, because of the level 25 max. But once the end game comes and we can go to the max level, you will definitely want to max this one out for attack speed bonus. This will be 12% more attack speed as long as you're healthy, and healthy means you're more than 80% of your life, which you pretty much should be all the time, since minions are tanking shots for you and stuff. So they should permanently have the 12% attack speed bonus. Here you'll have 30% more damage from minions if you stay close to them. I don't know exactly what close definition is, but as long as you stay in vicinity of your minions, which shouldn't be too hard, they will just do more damage. Then later down the line, you will want to grab this to auto heal your minions, and I think this will probably go up to 60%. So every 5 seconds, we'll be able to go to heal like over half health for minions. So this will help with just like survivability of your minions. They will be able to survive longer. And then this one is also going to be important because it will prevent the one shots from the enemy. Actually, let's see. Okay, so it goes up to actually 25%, which is pretty insane. So your minion will not be able to take more than quarter of their life in one hit. So this will be good against bosses and stuff like that have, you know, big hit abilities. This will prevent your minions from dying, being able to just one shot. So this will be very important late game, I can already tell. Then from other points, Golem Mastery, you will probably grab this as well because you will have extra points. Not as important. I don't think Golem is doing that much. At least it doesn't feel like it's doing that much. So, you will probably just take it for the HP mostly, so it stays alive longer. But again, you'll have extra points. Might as well put it here. Then this one doesn't really matter because, or actually, you can probably grab. Sorry, I was thinking of the other one. This one you can grab because it will increase the damage reduction. So since we have 13 minions now, oh sorry, I was right, this one is garbage because you will have increased reduction by 6, but it gets reduced by 2% for each active minion. Okay, I was right, this one was garbage. So this one is if you do like no minion build, right? So and it's the same for this one because this one gives you more bonuses if you sacrifice your warriors and sacrifice your mages. So doesn't matter for us for the minion build. And then at the last 3, your realistic choices will be this one, which increases your minions attack speed by 15%. If you didn't take any damage for 3 seconds, and if you have 7 minions at least, this will be doubled, so you will be able to get 30% attack speed on your minions, which is fat damage. And it should be relatively easy not to take damage since you will have that barrier. Hopefully there will be other imprints that give you barrier, or maybe just build towards having a permanent barrier all the time, at least like a little bit. So if something, you know, hits you every now and then, you don't lose this buff. Instead it just hits your barrier and you can just keep this buff. I'm pretty sure this buff should work as long as you don't take health damage, but it again, like, I cannot test it right now. So your second option will be this one, which is the Shadow Blight. So every time, so shadow damage will infect enemies with Shadow Blight. So every time you do shadow damage, enemies get inflicted with Shadow Blight, which will increase yours and minions damage by 10%, which is very nice, again, because of the Blight pool. And the Bone Prison that spawns Blight will be doing shadow damage all the time, so enemy will have this Shadow Blight all the time on them, so we will do 10% more damage. Also, every 10th time an enemy receives shadow damage, which with so many pools and minions attacking, they will receive 10th hit constantly. Then they will take additional damage, which is 20% of shadow damage, right? So again, I have hard time telling which one will be better because this one works for you as well. This one is more for just minions. I'm leaning towards Shadow Blight, but I would have to test both of them when the game comes out. You can only choose one of them, so but it will definitely be between those two. Okay, so that's it for the minion build in terms of skills. The only other thing I'll go through quickly is the Book of the Dead. So for the skeleton warriors, you want to grab the reapers, and you want to grab them with this enchantment, because it will spawn corpses, or have a chance to spawn corpses. You need some kind of corpse generation, especially for the bosses, so this is your way to do it, right? So that's pretty much all they're there for. The next one is the skeletal mages. You want to grab the shadow one, because again, we have so many bonuses stacking with increased shadow damage, so you want them to do shadow damage. The first one can stun, which is, again, like, if you cannot stun the boss, then it's not really that cool. This one makes it so every 6 attack they cast 2 bolts instead of 1. So with attack speed, for example, they will just, do an extra attack every 6 auto attack. So it's just more passive damage. I like it a lot. And then for the bone golem, I don't know what you will be able to grab here. The blood, I'm assuming, will be physical, but then iron, I don't know. Is iron going to be like full tank? Probably. So I doubt you will be able to get shadow anywhere here. Bone golem doesn't really do damage regardless, so I guess it doesn't matter. But here, for the beta purposes, I grabbed this, so it will shed a corpse if it loses 20% of max life, which I don't know if it really can happen in beta. I don't think enemies do enough damage, but yeah, this one doesn't really matter for beta. Later down the line, we'll see what those versions are, so what they provide. Okay, now, as you can see, you have 2 free slots, so I'll just quickly go over what you could place in those empty slots. What are your options? If you want to, like, well, you will want to maximize, right? You want to have 2 more spells probably at the end game. So what are your choices? So number 1 choice, again, if it will work on the release, you will definitely want to grab Blood Mist with the corpse explosion, and you will want to have this legendary affix aspect, which will cause the blood mist to trigger corpse explosion, and it will reduce the cooldown of the blood mist. So this will be amazing for your clear speed. Then what you will do is in your skills, you will max out corpse explosion, so it does more damage. You will grab this for increased radius, and then I advise to grab this one, even though for clearing it's a little worse, not by much. It's still very good, because it will do shadow damage, and that will help you against the boss. It will help you against minions themselves as well, or enemies. But if not, then you can always just grab this, and you will do more damage to vulnerable targets, and you will do increased or faster damage, I guess, because it will explode and do immediate damage instead of over time. The nice thing with overtime stuff is, because it will deal shadow damage, you will get the 15% movement speed from this, and because you get 15% movement from this, you will move faster in your blood mist, so you can quicker trigger corpse explosions, and you can quicker kill the enemies. Again, like, I think it will be very strong. You also need this one. I forgot about this, but you also need this one, because this makes it so you no longer get the movement speed penalty on your blood mist. So normally it reduces to 80%. So yeah, your movement speed is reduced by 20%, so you can only have 80% of your movement speed when you're in blood mist, but that aspect makes it so your movement speed isn't back to normal, no negatives, and if you make it blight damage, then you will get the 15% increase on top of it. And because this one works with every tick of shadow damage, like any time shadow damage is dealt, you will have it permanently for the all dungeon. So that will be your number one choice, 100%, unless they nerf it, change it, where it doesn't work like that anymore. We'll see on the release of the game. So other than that, what are your choices? Again, like I said, decompose. If you run out of your resources, you will probably just stand and decompose the boss for that 10% increased damage from you and minions. So your pools of blight should do more damage, and your minions should do more damage as well. So that's your first choice. Your other choices is Bone Spear. Bone Spear because you can grab this and this. This makes the target vulnerable for 3 seconds. So once the Bone Prison ends, you don't really have a way to inflict vulnerable again. So you can reapply it with the Bone Spear, but as you see in beta, 6 seconds is enough to kill. So it, like, for beta purposes, doesn't really matter too much, but you know, that could be your additional way of inflicting vulnerable if Bone Prison is on cooldown. Speaking of Bone Prison being on cooldown, your other choices, which is something I probably will go with, is to grab Decrepify. And Decrepify basically makes the enemy slower, and it makes them deal less damage, which might be actually useful for both bosses and for clearing dungeons in endgame. This will make it so your minions are less likely to die and you are less likely to die. And damage reduction and slow will scale as well, as you see with points. So that's nice. Out of the enchantments, you will grab obviously this one, no choice. But then you have a choice between, and both are pretty good. You can either choose this one, which will make it so your minions will immediately, or you or minions will execute enemies with below 10% life. This again is pretty good with our blight pool because it will do constant damage. So once they reach 90% or once they reach 10% health, it will immediately kill, right? As long as they're debuffed with Decrepify. Or you can grab this one. It will make it so with Lucky Hit, which is just RNG mechanic, they have a chance to 15% chance to reduce your active cooldowns by 1 second. This actually can be helpful for the Bone Prison because Bone Prison is 20 seconds. If you put more points into it, it goes back to 16 seconds on rank 5. If you can grab even more, then it will go even lower, and then you have cooldown reduction stats, so you can definitely bring it down lower for the boss fights. But this is pretty nice to make it so you can cast the Bone Prison again. I'm pretty sure you will be able to do the combo where you Bone Prison, 6 seconds passes, and you can Bone Prison again. Like, I'm pretty sure you will be able to go that low. So that's why, to me, the Bone Spear probably will not be really useful. Because you will be able to get just Bone Prison stuff. Okay, so from other things, the only other thing I can recommend is grabbing this one, the Bone Storm. The Bone Storm is not that great. None of the ultimate skills are good, to be honest. All of them are kind of garbage, honestly. Especially Blood Wave and Army of the Dead. Those two are super bad. Blood Wave does like 0 fucking damage. Army of the Dead also feels like it does 0 fucking damage. Bone Storm is the only one that is not completely garbage. It also is not amazing either because it's 60 second cooldown and you don't really feel the power at all. But it will make you tankier and it will give you some crit chance if you have those, so that's nice. And then if you grab this one, it will make it a shadow skill, so now it gets all the damage bonuses, so suddenly the skill might be actually okay to use. And another thing is both you and your golem gets it. So that means that you will deal the 2000 or 1600 to 2000 damage, and your golem should do the exact same damage as well. So if you stack, it should do double damage with you and your golem hitting the boss, for example, or even you can use it on normal enemies while you're clearing the dungeon to just speed it up. The only unfortunate part is again 60 seconds cooldown. Maybe later we'll be able to reduce it down, but I doubt it will come to like spam territory. So and that's pretty much it for your choices, because there's nothing really else. Like Iron Maiden doesn't really work too well here. Like you can make it free of essence and then regenerate essence, but we don't really rely on essence with this build, so it doesn't really matter too much. The corpse tendrils is too slow, like the cast animation is too slow to be useful, in my opinion. Bone Spirit is interesting, but you can only cast it once and then you need the essence, and it does okay damage, but I don't see how it can be really useful for like clearing enemies, and boss wise we already are stacked and we're using the essence for blight, so it doesn't make sense to me to grab it. Sever, I wanted to like it because it actually has a node that increases its damage based on how many minions you have. This one, so you would deal 2% increased damage for each minion, which since we have 13 it does 26% more damage, but even with that it was very whatever. It didn't feel like I was one-shotting enemies and you know, like two-shotting elites or anything like that. It was doing whatever damage. Just felt like Blight was doing more if I can keep the enemy inside of it. So not a fan of Sever. Plus the travel animation is kind of weird too. It just doesn't. It can get stuck on walls as well. I just don't like the skill. The blood ones I'm not recommending because I didn't test them. I will actually try making a build after this, like physical blood build, but this does physical damage, so it doesn't get any bonuses. That's why I just skip over. So that's it for your recommendations. The stuff that I will use on release for those 2 slots is definitely the Blood Mist. If it stays the same or similar enough, I will definitely grab this. And then the second thing I will grab is probably Bone Storm, so I can do extra damage, extra shadow damage, or the Crepify. I mean, either of those 2 is fine. But if Blood Mist is changed, then I will grab probably the Crepify and probably Bone Storm, those 2. Maybe Decompose instead of one of them. Honestly, it depends. Like, I feel like the Crepify you probably will want because of the end game, just to make you survive and your minions survive more. So I feel like this will be a must-have, and then it's up to you to either go for the Blood Mist or Bone Storm or Decompose. The way I see it is Decompose would be good if you don't have anything else to do, and Bone Storm will be good if you want immediate damage, because you can cast it at the start of the fight, right, and forget about it. But then after you run out of gas, you don't have anything to do. So I feel like Decompose probably will be a safer bet against longer boss fights than this. So yeah, those are your options, those are your choices. You can just test it yourself and see. I'll try to make an updated version of this build once we get to the max level and we have access to all of the points and stuff. I'm also curious again about the Paragon system, because that might change a little bit as well, how this build interacts and works. But alright, the video has been long enough. Just wanted to go in depth how it works and and showcase it. So I guess I'll see you whenever the game actually comes out with the updated one. So until now, take care. Peace.